THA budget statement is to be read on Monday. Minority Council walks out of plenary sitting. Chief Secretary says he will not share audit with Prime Minister or minority. And in sports, FC Phoenix are without recreational grounds to call home. Good evening, I am Kristen Salandi, and welcome to the Tobago Updates Television News for Thursday, 22nd of June 2023. In our top story, the Tobago House of Assembly's budget statement for fiscal 2023-2024 will be read on Monday. The announcement was made by Chief Secretary Farley Augustine in the House today.
We greatly anticipate the budget presentation that will happen on Monday and the debates to follow on Thursday, when Tobagonians will get a glimpse, in fact more than a glimpse, but a detailed report on the progress of Tobago and how progressive their administration has been over the past year and a half.
According to the THA Act 40 of 1996, the budget must be read and passed in the House by the end of the third quarter of the financial year. This means that the budget must be read and submitted by June 30th. Stay tuned to Tobago Updates Television on Monday for exclusive coverage of the budget and analysis. Chief Secretary Farley Augustine presented details in the House today, refuting claims made by the Prime Minister that he, Augustine, had information about the suspension of a public servant carded to fill the vacant Chief Administrator position. Here is Candice Jackson with the details.
Chief Secretary Farley Augustine claimed it was not the first time there was an issue with consultation for filling the vacancy of the Chief Administrator. It happened in May 2022 when the then Chief Ad, Bernadette Karuma, retired. Augustine claimed the Prime Minister did not consult with him and appointed someone else. When the last Chief Ad, Ethlyn John, was nearing retirement, he then wrote again to the Prime Minister about it.
Last year, the procedure was improperly handled and a letter to that effect was sent to your office reminding of the requirement in law and the need to not have history repeat itself. In this regard, I wish to have, name redacted, considered for appointment as Chief Administrator within the Tobago House of Assembly.
After notice of John's retirement, the Chief Secretary and the Prime Minister met and discussed a name that he proposed.
At no point and up to this point, the Prime Minister and myself have discussed any other public servant save and except for the one I recommended.
The Prime Minister instead told the nation that another name was discussed and that public officer was subsequently suspended by the Public Service Commission based on an audit sanctioned by the Chief Secretary. However, Augustine claimed he knew nothing about the suspension of the public servant because it is the job of the Chief Administrator to inform the Public Service Commission of wrongdoing.
She was given the report months earlier. It is up to the sole discretion of the Chief Administrator, after reading the voluminous report, to sanction or cause to be sanctioned any public officer that was implicated in that report. That is not my duty and business, Madam Presiding Officer.
Augustine said details of the ongoing audit are not widely known. In fact, he stated that no one on the Executive Council is aware of the details of the audit, except for a few public servants.
I must question whether or not the Prime Minister and his friends wanted to have that senior public officer installed as Chief Administrator without consulting me. Further, I must question whether the desire to have this officer in question become Chief Administrator is to have someone who will thwart the results or the resolutions of the audit and ensure that no one pays for the crimes committed against the THA.
Despite calls for the audit to be publicized, Augustine said he will not be releasing it to the Prime Minister or the Minority Leader. Instead, he would allow the relevant authorities to take action. I am Candice Jackson for Tobago Updates News.
Meanwhile, the Minority Council walked out of the Assembly chambers today as Chief Secretary Farley Augustine made a statement in the Assembly legislature. Here is Candice Jackson with the details.
Minority Leader Calvin Morris raised objections to the lack of a written statement provided for all members to follow along with after the Assembly waived the standing orders to limit the statement to 10 minutes. Chief Secretary Farley Augustine used a provision in the standing orders which allows for statements to address the lack of a chief administrator in the Assembly.
It is quite disingenuous that a member will be allowed to misuse the provisions of a statement to deliver a political address. This is a clear...
Minority Leader, the statement has not been made yet.
But Madam Presiding Officer, the statement is made so that we can follow and ensure that the Chief Secretary follows the statement. That is the only way we'll know what he's saying is actually on the statement.
Morris further protested the action based on a requirement in the standing orders for the written statement to be provided. However, Presiding Officer Abby Taylor rejected his protest.
Leader, the statement has to be made first for the circulation to happen. Kindly read the standing order properly. A statement made. Minority Leader, kindly have your seat.
However, Morris and the Minority Councillor Petal Daniel Benoit was not satisfied with the response and walked out of the House as the Chief Secretary was allowed to proceed with his statement.
Fight for greater autonomy. May his legacy inspire today's generation to fight on and fight harder for what is rightfully Tobago's. This statement, Madam Presiding Officer, comes on the cusp.
Following the walkout, the Minority Council engaged the public in a live social media video. They accused Augustine of manipulating the standing orders to make a political statement. They also claimed that the presiding officer is supposed to approve the statement before it is read in the House and is calling for her to clarify what happened. Additionally, the Minority Leader pointed out that according to the notice of the sitting, the Chief Secretary was supposed to provide a statement on the achievements of the Assembly. However, no such statement was made. As a result, the Minority Council described the latest action as symptomatic of a dictatorship and they will not be a part of such actions in the House. I am Candice Jackson for Tobago Updates News.
More news when we return after this break.
1, 2, and 3 bedroom, fully self-contained apartments located at the heart of Crown Point. Minutes walk to the popular beaches, restaurants, bars, and the airport. Enjoy our amazing amenities such as fully equipped apartments, complete with Wi-Fi, AC, TV, and a pool, and a mini-mart on the compound. Call 639-8292 or 8929. Jimmy's Holiday Resorts is your family's home away from home.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry, don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry, if your nice car get damaged bad. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry, don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry, if your house get flooded out real bad. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry, if sickness catch you off guard. I tell them never ever worry, if times fall on you real hard. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil will always be here for you. Never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
first step to security, but a possible access point for guns, drugs, crime. If it does not look right, do the right thing. Call Crime Stoppers anonymously. 800-8477. Report possible border crime.
October will never be better with Tobago carnival fever. Book your passage and come on over.
Welcome back to the Tobago Updates television news. Returning to politics. Service providers for the Tobago leg of the National Carnival held in February are still owed monies. This was revealed by the Secretary for Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation in response to a question posed by Minority Leader Kelvin Morris at today's sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly. Janae Campbell has more in this report.
At the 19th sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly, Minority Leader Kelvin Morris posed a question to the Secretary of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation, Tashia Boris, as it relates to delayed payments from Tobago Carnival.
Question 64 to the Secretary of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation.
Councillor Boris.
As it relates to the recently held carnival in February, can the Secretary indicate when service providers will be paid?
However, Secretary Boris noted that service providers receive payments of over $7.6 million, but an outstanding balance exists.
Service providers have already been paid to the tune of $7,697,001.02. There is an outstanding balance to be paid, and we are working assiduously to ensure that those outstanding balances are cleared in the shortest possible time.
However, the Minority Leader sought further clarification on the process of releasing funds within the THA. Boris has responded.
The usual process is that an Executive Council note is prepared that outlines the event and the estimated cost to produce the event. That Executive Council note is approved, and when that Executive Council note is approved, then requests for releases can be made.
Minority Leader Kelvin Morris was not pleased with the response and suggested that it is unacceptable for payments to still be outstanding for Tobago Carnival in February.
I'm understanding that the budget was about $10 million, so that would have been approved. You would have requested $10 million. So why we are now in June?
Question, Minority.
The carnival was February. Why have not the division gotten the release so that the people who would have supplied services can be paid? These are poor people.
Notwithstanding, Secretary Boris insisted that the division has done its part.
So, the division has done all that it is supposed to do in terms of requesting releases in a timely manner. We are not responsible for any delays that may result from situations outside of our control at the division.
Janae Campbell, Tobago Updates News.
Following its participation at the Caribbean Tourism Organization's Caribbean Week in New York earlier this month, TTAL was pleased by its participation. They are trying to gain ground in the North American travel market. Tobago Tourism's delegation included Executive Chairman Alicia Edwards, Avian Hercules, Andra Drofield, and Asma Ali of Finn Partners, who are Tobago's representatives in the USA. TTAL has confirmed its drive to build visitor arrivals from the U.S. to Tobago. According to Ms. Edwards, quote, North America has proven to be an emerging market for Tobago post-COVID, end quote. Additionally, while at Caribbean Week in New York and at Caribbean Travel Marketplace in Barbados, Tobago Tourism was able to have meaningful interactions with several tour operators and marketing partners. These interactions provided much-needed discussions to establish stronger alliances to meet the objectives of the Tobago Tourism Agency Limited. Minister of Education Nyan Gatsby Dolly has reiterated that no new textbooks were added to the primary school syllabus. This comes on the heels of an uproar by some who took issue with the advertisement of RIK bookstores of storybooks that appear to deal with sexual orientation. The minister made it abundantly clear that there were no intentions by the Ministry of Education to introduce any of the books into the primary school syllabus, which were erroneously circulated online. Meanwhile, in response to an online petition calling for the books to be banned from the national book list, RIK Services Limited issued a statement in response via its Facebook page. RIK Services Limited says that it served the public's interest for almost 50 years, and the organization is delighted to do so. The organization affirmed its commitment to book selling to all members of the society, no matter gender affiliation or identity. RIK Services Limited made it clear that, quote, "we do not discriminate," end quote, and in that regard caters to the needs of a diverse population. There were mixed views by the population on the sale of the books, with some persons using their social media platforms to say that those opposed to the sale of the books can simply not purchase them. Others said the books do not hinder children or young people from the introduction of gender and sexual orientation in the age of technology. Find out about which football club is struggling to find a home for football.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
Right now, Tobagonians are just currying down to Bonaccord, right in Stobin Local Road. You know why? To come down and shop at Authentic Builders General Hardware, the only hardware store in Tobago that is giving you guys Trinidad prices. So for instance, such as steel, 1/2 inch and 5/8, $7,895. 5/8 construction ply for $260. Every single thing that you will need to do your home renovation or start your new construction, we have it right here. And to get your quotation, it's very easy. Just WhatsApp us at 272-1990 and we will do your free WhatsApp quotation for you.
Welcome back to the Tobago Updates Television News. Turning now to sport. A community football team is nothing without a home base where they can train and villagers can show their support. However, FC Phoenix is not so lucky. They have been without their home ground in Bonaccord, Canaan for the last 3 years. Here is Marcus Daniel with more.
Canaan-based FC Phoenix is one of 2 Tobago teams competing in the 2023 Trinidad and Tobago Premier League Tier 2. Phoenix currently sits on top of the 11-team table with 8 points from 4 unbeaten matches. However, Phoenix has done so with their home fans having to travel elsewhere to see them play. As are required by league, each participating team must have a suitable home venue. The Canaan Bonaccord Recreation Ground has been closed from competitive sporting events for the last 3 years owing to poor irrigation and maintenance. As a result, Phoenix has adopted Black Rock Recreation Ground as its home venue. Head coach Nigel D'Souza told Tobago Update Sports he has been very diplomatic in seeking to have the matter addressed.
I mean, I'm not sure what football feel anyway. I mean, I've been diplomatic enough. We have tried to go through the correct channels, but at some point, something had to be done, man. At some point.
Trees can be seen growing on piles of dirt scattered across the fields. In addition, the lights at the venue are also limited. D'Souza explained that attempts were made to have the matter addressed before and after the COVID-19 pandemic.
We have been facing this problem to get the field fixed since last year. So obviously, before the COVID start, this problem would have started where they would drop stuff. So all the humps you're seeing is stuff that would have drop initially and they never roll it. That's before the COVID. After the COVID and we came back out, and last year, January, when we came back out, I made contact with the necessary people to ask them what they could do for the field. According to D'Souza, discussions with the area representative Joel Sampson and the Assistant Secretary for Sports Wayne Clark did not bear any fruit. We have had meetings, we have written with the Secretary for Sports, the Assistant Secretary and the Secretary for Sports. We have spoken with our area representative and we still face the same problem, which the field, so they come in March, they drop this stuff here first and then they bring down topsoil. They said they was going to mix it, bring a grader, grade the field, put it down, grade the field. And well, this is the situation we still face. We're in June. And Phoenix still can't play any kind of football at home. Our home fans haven't seen us play a game in Bon Accord in, this is going on almost 2 years now.
Marcus Daniel, Tobago Update Sports.
While the preparations for Tobago's hosting of the Commonwealth Games are proceeding, the Planning Committee intensified its call for volunteers. Here is Marcus Daniel with more details.
The Tobago Commonwealth Youth Games are now 43 days away. Activities will take place both in Trinidad and in Tobago. Fast 5 netball, rugby sevens, sprint triathlon and beach volleyball are the sporting disciplines to be contested in Tobago. In March, the THA appointed a Tobago Task Committee to manage the preparation and hosting of the Games. On Wednesday, the committee held a meet and greet with prospective volunteers. Head of the local organizing committee, George Leacock, commended the volunteers for lending their services.
Let me thank you up front for being here. And let me encourage you to view volunteerism as an opportunity to learn and grow.
Also speaking yesterday was Minister of Sport and Community Development, Shamfa Kojo. Minister Kojo said the ministry is delighted that over 1,000 persons have registered online to be a volunteer.
Get the true spirit of sport as you volunteer, for those of you who are not actually athletes. So I'm pleased that Mr. Clark could be here today and to really witness this thing come to fruition. We can boast of over 1,000 persons throughout Trinidad and Tobago who have registered to be volunteers.
However, it was said that Tobago is still in need of over 100 more volunteers. The head of volunteers, Georgina Peterkin, shared the mission statement for the initiative.
Build a professional volunteer organization that is well resourced and allows for the effective running of the Tobago 2023 Commonwealth Youth Games while ensuring the well-being of the volunteers and the stakeholders their service.
In the 2001 FIFA Under-17 World Cup, Tobago was voted the best hospitality venue. National athlete Akani Hislop, who represented this country in the 2015 Commonwealth Youth Games in Samoa, is a member of the Tobago Task Force. The 2023 Commonwealth Youth Games will be staged from the 4th to the 11th of August.
We are about to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. More news after this.
The best place to stay in Tobago is at Thorns Place, with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorns Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable. Full disclosure, with the executive every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on Tobago Updates. Real questions and honest conversations with the sole aim of keeping you fully in the know. Full disclosure with the executive every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on Tobago Updates.
Thanks for staying with us. In the Assembly sitting today, there was a dispute between the Minority Leader and the Secretary of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development. This was in relation to Studley Park Enterprises Limited and the Studley Park Quarry. Janae Campbell again has more details.
Minority Leader Kelvon Morris fired questions in the House today. This time in the hot seat was Secretary for Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development, Trevor James.
Madam Presiding Officer, the question reads, can the Secretary identify and list the current members of the board of the quarry at Studley Park, as well as their position, remuneration and date of appointment?
In a striking response, this is what Mr. James had to say.
In 2017, the quarry, that is the mining operations of the then DIQE at Studley Park, the aggregate crushing operations, the asphalt manufacturing operations, the equipment rental operations, and the testing lab unit of the DIQE at Goldsboro were all consolidated into one corporate entity incorporated under the Companies Act of 1995 as Studley Park Enterprises Limited.
He further elucidated that Studley Park Quarry does not have a board of its own.
Therefore, Madam Presiding Officer, I am not certain if this question before me today is some sleight of words, but simply the answer to this question is that the quarry, that is the mining operations at Studley Park, does not have a board on its own.
Both the Minority Leader and the Secretary of Infrastructure were seen going back and forth over this issue of semantics.
The question is clear. The board that the Secretary of Infrastructure has control of, that is in Studley Park Quarry. We want to know who are the directors. So whether the board, the name of the company is spelled or whether the name of the company is well.
However, Secretary James refused to speak on the board at the Studley Park Quarry as written in the question posed by the Minority Leader and offered to answer questions on the board at Spell at a later date.
There is no board of a quarry at Studley Park. There is a board of Spell, and if the Minority Leader wishes to ask a question about the board of Spell, which he has asked before, then he can write the question, oral or written, and I will be delighted to answer him at that time.
Janae Campbell, Tobago Updates News.
With the announcement of the budget day today, we went through the streets of Scarborough to find out how Tobagonians feel and if the current administration are currently managing their finances well.
It's not about management, it's about watching out the amount they're spending in the rent of the finances where they're in right now, because if you're getting the money and you have to pay it back in rent, that don't make no sense.
No. Okay?
No, failure. As far as I heard, no money is missing, and well, the guy said we don't know that for sure as yet, and so in my view, the current administration is spending the funds of Tobago well.
Actually, no. Because nobody not see nothing happening in Tobago. I would like to see what happened in Tobago, then I could say, well, yes or no. But currently, nah.
I don't think that there's a lot of infrastructure that's currently happening now to show that there is use of the funds financially, but I do think that the current administration has only been in there for a short period of time, so to see a lot of physical change right now may be a bit difficult.
75 to 80% rating. And I think there was a lot of things said that would have been supposed to have been done and wasn't done or still yet to be done. Better could be done. There's always room for improvement.
I think that the government slack towards these things, and the government needs to pull up the government belt better and manage the place better. We voting. PDP could do a good job, and we just need to be on the right track, big brother.
We have reached the end of tonight's newscast, but here's a recap of the headlines. THA budget statement is to be read on Monday. Minority Council walks out of plenary sitting. Chief Secretary says he will not share audit with Prime Minister or minority. And in sport, FC Phoenix are without recreational grounds to call home. I am Kristen Salandi, thanking you for joining us and wishing you a good night.